Welcome to Morning Chava. On this podcast, we are going to dive into fun, educational, and sometimes hard topics with individuals, experts, and storytellers. Our aim is to fill your day with something that gives you a little life. Chava literally means life, to give life, and we want to help empower you to live your best life no matter what leg of the journey you are on. Whether you are preparing for pregnancy, birth, or parenting, we hope to fill your cup with a little Chava for the journey. So grab your favorite drink, or if you're like me, 2 or 3, and join me for the Morning Chava. Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. I'm so excited that you are here. If you missed last week's episode, it was so much fun chatting with Catherine all about the baby dust method. And then I had several people write to me and say that they tried it, that it worked for them. And then somebody else told me about another method called cosmic method or something like that, that they found to be even more effective. So I just thought it was a very fun podcast to talk about and to see if it worked for anybody. Like I said, Vito and I don't think are going to try it. Maybe on baby number 4 or 5. If we get that far, we'll see. But for right now, we're just taking things as they come. So this week's episode is going to look a little bit different. I have some amazing episodes coming up that I cannot wait to share with you. But also, I've just been doing some deep dives into different topics for myself as I'm preparing my body to try to conceive and really trying to figure out what's in my control. There's so many things out of our control, right? But I stumbled on some new information in the last couple of weeks and different things that I'm incorporating in my diet or changing, and some interesting research that I've read. So I wanted to share that with you. And then I'm also including some Q&A from Instagram and the Facebook group in here as well. So it's going to kind of be broken up into segments. We have some sponsors for the podcast today. So I'm going to kind of break it up in between those sponsors. So I'm going to share some information with you guys, and then we'll hear from a sponsor, share some more information, hear from a sponsor. That's kind of be the pattern of today's podcast. Like I said, I'm super excited to talk with you. We're going to talk about caffeine and fertility, sleep and fertility, and glutathione and fertility. And like I said, in between that, I am going to be answering some questions. So I'm going to go ahead and start with a few questions from Instagram that I've gotten. Some of them I'm not going to be able to answer because I don't really know the information on it. Like, somebody talked about missed periods and anemia. I honestly don't have any information on that. But I'm going to go ahead and dive into these questions. So what is the hardest thing for you about the first year? And what's the absolute best? So I think for me, the first year, there's 2 different things. So with Jovi, the hardest thing was honestly just like the whole first 6 months. That adjustment into motherhood, of that switch of a role that was also deep COVID. We didn't know what was going on. She had a NICU stay. So I feel like it's hard for me to compare the beginning of my journey with her to people who had babies maybe pre-COVID, or now that things aren't as strict in like hospitals and things like that, how things are going. But I feel like our situation with her was really, really affected by that, and especially my mental health. So I think that first year, just learning how to navigate it all and really realizing that we aren't in control. Like, there's only so much we can do, right? Like, I can make sure that she's fed. I can make sure that she has secure, that her needs are met. But also, I can't force her to sleep when I want her to sleep all the time. And so then that sleep deprivation is affecting me. Or I can't force her to do certain things. Like, it's just out of your control. Like, they can't communicate yet. So if something's bothering them and they're upset and you're trying all the things, they have a dry diaper, they've been fed, you're doing all these things and you're like, what is wrong? What's happening? Maybe they're popping a tooth. Maybe it's a regression. There's so much that we don't know. And so I feel like that first year, especially with Jovi, I had so much anxiety and was constantly Googling and looking into things and trying to figure it out. Whereas my first year with Tula, she got a more experienced mom, but she got a more relaxed mom. I feel like my first year with Tula has been a breeze. Like, I'm like, oh, well, something must just be going on. Like it wasn't affecting me as much. Just knowing my job is to fulfill her needs and to comfort her and to be her constant and to be there for her. And so I felt like my first year with Tula was a breeze compared to my first year with Jovi. But I would say the best thing with both of them is just those intimate moments that you get. The best is like, I feel like with Jovi around 6 months, that's when everything started to really change. I felt more of a connection. Our breastfeeding journey got a lot easier. And you just get those sweet moments of them like putting their hand on your cheek when you're feeding them, or them cuddling and you're watching a movie together, or just different things like that. It's just the absolute sweetest. And watching them grow. I mean, at this stage of life, they are growing so much. We actually, this last week, we went in for Jovi's 30-month appointment and Tula's 1-year appointment. And it's crazy seeing their growth, right? Like Jovi's starting to plateau a little bit in her toddler years. Tula is off the charts. I don't know. She is not like me when I was a baby. I was a peanut. Me and my sister both were peanuts. I think all three of, us girls. And my girls are on the bigger end. And my pediatrician was just kind of like laughing at Tula's growth chart. And I'm like, I have no idea what's going on, because she is, especially for like height and stuff, she is off the charts. And I'm not a tall person. I do have a lot of tall genes in my family, and my husband's tall, but other than that, I'm not. Guys, sorry, this is a tangent. I've been saying for like my whole adult life that I'm 5'4". And Vito's like, there's no way. I'm like, yes, I am. And so he took out the tape measure and measured me the other day. I'm not. I'm like 5'3" and a quarter or 5'3" and a half. And I'm like, whatever. I'm still telling everybody I'm 5'4". So I'm not even 5'4". And my girls are both 95th to over 100 percentile in height. So it's just so cool watching them grow and learn things like, and their different characteristics, like what Jovi was doing at 1. Jovi had like 6 teeth and she was walking and, just getting into stuff. Tula's not quite walking yet. She's been walking against everything. She'll take a few steps between Vito and I here and there. She has 1 tooth. But she's like, her hand-eye coordination is out of control. Like the other day we went out to sushi and she put the chopstick inside the straw. And she would like take it out and then like retry it. Like she'll find the tiniest things and put them together. And that's something that Jovi just had no interest in or like didn't try. Like their personalities are already so different. The way that they operate and think and do things and the skills are so different. So it's just, I'd say the first year is the best, just watching them grow and seeing their little minds tick and starting to figure them out. Like Tula for sure has a little temper, way more than Joey. So that's going to be interesting. But it's so much fun. So thanks for asking that question, just because I love stuff like that. Somebody asked, do you still want 4 kids? We do. As of now, we would still love to have 4 kids. Like I said, we're taking them one at a time. So we have 2 right now, and we'll see what we are blessed with in the future and maybe how things will change. It's hard to plan. Like it's hard to plan your future, right? Like we've tried planning before and experienced losses and things didn't always go as we thought. So right now it's like, okay, like we were talking about when we want to try again, and it's like, okay, but if we got pregnant now, the baby's birthday would be, this month. We really don't want a December baby. So, but then we're like, who knows what could happen? Like I was talking to my cousin she's a nurse at an OB-GYN practice. And she's like, right, but you could have your baby 4 weeks early. You could, you could plan to have your baby in January, but then you go into like labor a month early. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you're so right. Like, or I could get pregnant and experience loss again. That's a huge fear of mine. And secondary fertility is a huge thing. So there's a lot of people that have no problem having their first, second kid and then experience infertility issues after that. So we would love to have 4 kids as of now. Who knows what 3 will do, if we're able to have 3, if that'll change our minds. So I think as of now it's 4, potentially 5. I don't know. We're just along for the ride at this point and in it. So we're just going to keep going. let's hear from one of our sponsors, Jenny Kane. And you are in for a treat with this company. Think minimalist meets luxury. Jenny Kane items are classic, so comfortable, and California-inspired clothing from cashmere to cotton knit sweaters that you will be obsessed with. And their flowy summer dress that you'll never want to take off. So with elevated everyday basics and wardrobe essentials, getting dressed is easier than ever before. When it comes to investing in an outfit that'll last, I choose Jenny Kane. For a limited time, our listeners will get 15% off their entire order. Go to jennykane.com and use code CHAVA to get 15% off. So I want to tell you about one of their pieces that I have recently tried, and that is going to be their everyday sweater. It is so comfortable. Like I said, minimalist meets luxury. It's like simple but luxurious, and it goes with anything. I can throw on a cute pair of tennis shoes, or I can dress it up. It's seasonally timeless. I can wear it in the winter, even in the summer, in a cool evening. It is so comfortable and amazing, and I absolutely love Jenny Kane. I'm always striving to find a few staple items for my closet that are go-tos, and really trying to bring in that minimalistic aspect. 'Cause I have so many clothes in there that I hardly ever wear. And it's like, why is the sweater still in there when I'm not reaching for it, right? But the Jenny Kane sweaters are going to be something that you're going to reach for over and over and over. So again, find your forever pieces at jennykane.com. The listeners are going to get 15% off your first order when you use the code CHAVA at checkout. That's 15% off your first order at jennykane.com. Promo code CHAVA, the brand go-to for all season staples, and treat yourself because you deserve it. Somebody asked, how do you handle 2 kids? I have a 2-year-old and a 6-month-old, and I feel like I'm drowning. So I want you to know that you are not alone in that at all. I think how I handle it, honestly, I think it's just been the last month where I've felt a change. Before that, I felt continually overwhelmed. And Vito can speak to this because every single day I just kept telling him how hard it is, how hard it is, how hard it is. And he would acknowledge and validate me, but also let me know that my mentality and the language I'm using also isn't helping the situation. Constantly thinking that everything's hard and just kind of having that mentality really was affecting me, but it's also not wrong. This season of life is tough. It's so tough. And trying to find your rhythm and your groove can be a battle. What I want to say to that is that what happened for me in the last month was actually a couple of messages that I heard at church about really what am I feeding myself mentally, and really trying to prioritize some other things in my life. So I realized that honestly, a lot of the accounts I was following on Instagram weren't serving me. And if you do follow me on Instagram, you'll know in the last couple of months, I've posted 2 or 3 times on my page. And there's so much content that I want to make to put on there because there's a lot of great information that I have as a doula, and even doing this fertility research that I want to share on there and have resources for you guys. But I'm overwhelmed when I get on there. I don't want to spend too much time on there. I'm constantly comparing myself to other people. Every time I log on, it's oh, this person's sharing how they keep their house clean all the time. And that's just not a reality for me right now. So I just want you to know that you're not alone. It is difficult, but also figuring out what can be pushed aside. I think a little bit of organization in your thoughts. So at the beginning of the week, maybe do some meal planning for the week, which is another question somebody had about meal prepping. I try to stick to a rhythm with mine. So Mondays, we always do Mediterranean Mondays, and I have 5 Mediterranean recipes saved in my Pinterest that I just kind of rotate. I make chicken gyros one week, or I'll make chicken shawarma one week, or I'll even just make any kind of meat and do a Greek salad or some orzo, or literally if you throw some olives and feta in something, you're going to make it Greek. So, and then Tuesdays always Taco Tuesdays. So either I just make some ground burger, or you can put chicken breasts and a can of salsa in the crock pot in the morning and shred it in the evening and throw it in some tortillas. And I love to cook. I love to try out new recipes. I love to like really get into this stuff, but I've just realized lately that it's too much for me. So I'll either do the Green Chef like a couple of nights a week, like I've shared before, or I just kind of stick to this pattern of Mondays Mediterranean, Tuesdays tacos, Wednesdays we usually do steak, Thursdays I do chicken with bone in, so either chicken legs or chicken thighs, or I'll roast a chicken so that I have those bones to make broth. Fridays it's fish Fridays, and then Saturdays I try not to cook, and Sunday I try to do something that's easy. So either just a roast that I can throw in the oven, or a whole chicken, or like a leg, lamb shoulder, like something that's a big chunk of meat that I can kind of cut up and have some leftovers for during the week. And just trying to like organize those things so that it's not on your mind every single day. So if you can have like 20 minutes, half hour on Sunday just to be like, okay, I'm just going to write down what we're going to eat, and then what can I realistically get done? And I've realized that some of my expectations on myself were so unrealistic. And so making a chore chart for myself really helped. And it's super simple. Like on Mondays, I vacuum and dust the upstairs. That's where all of our bedrooms are. And I do the bathroom. It takes me like half an hour. Sometimes I don't always get the bathroom done that day. And then I throw it in the next day with the downstairs bathroom. And then the next day I vacuum and dust the main floor, which doesn't take too long. And then I just have like a little bit of side chores here and there. So I try to follow that so that things don't get overwhelming for me. And then just at the end of the day, helping your 2-year-olds old enough that they should be able to help pick up their toys. They should be able to help pick up their rooms and things like that. You can start giving them little jobs. We always sing the song, clean up, everybody clean up, clean up. I don't remember. What is it? Everybody do your share. So we'll sing that song. Jovi will help pick up toys. And Vito's also a huge, huge help. So talking to your partner about these things is really, really important. Like I'll delegate things to him as well. And I know that he works really hard and he's tired as well. And we're realizing like, you can't keep score. We can't be like, I'm tired. Well, I'm tired too. And it's like, okay, we're both tired. And you really can't compare. Like he's physically laboring all day. He gets up at 5:30 every morning and he works really long days. And I have like, I'm nursing kids at night, and it's different what we're doing, but we're both tired. But it's easy for me to delegate things out to him. So like if I didn't get the vacuuming done, I could be like, hey, like while I'm doing this with the kids, can you just run upstairs and vacuum for me really quick? And then I'll dust it before bed. Or like, hey, while I'm giving the girls their bath, can you vacuum down here quick? And we always take turns with that. Like who's ever giving the girls bath, the other one cleans up dinner. So it can feel overwhelming, but I think just like putting your phone down and checking in with yourself and spending that one-on-one time with your kids is also really important, because then they're not demanding it as much later in the day, like at bedtime or whatever. It's like, no, I'm putting this away. I'm solely focusing on you right now. And then put on a movie. Our girls watch way more movies than I thought that I was going to be okay with. We still don't really do handheld tablets or anything like that at all. I will sometimes if their nap times are like, I'm trying to get both of them down around the same time. Like I'll let Jovi watch something on the iPad upstairs with me while I'm trying to get Tula down. But that's like a rare thing that happens. But I'll throw on a movie for them while I'm trying to get something done. But I realize that I drive myself crazy, like feeling like I have to do everything, then not really getting anything done. And I think that that's something that a lot of us struggle with. So just doing one small thing, putting your phone away, really connecting with your kids, and knowing that you're not alone. This is a tough season of life, and that needs to be acknowledged and validated. And that that's like a part of motherhood too. We're not meant to do it all. And with motherhood, there comes a lot of sacrifices, and that's okay. That's part of it as well. It's an amazing thing that we've chosen to do, and it changes who we are, and that's beautiful, and we learn and we adapt. Another thing that I'm doing is I'm back in therapy. I've been for a few months, and I also feel like that's really, really helped me. All right, before I answer the next question, I'm going to dive into an ad. So this podcast is sponsored by Athletic Greens. Vito takes AG1 by Athletic Greens every single day. usually right away when he wakes up in the morning. He has their little bottle that he got with the powder, shakes it up before he goes to work, and it helps him feel regular. It helps him feel sustained for the day, can curb some cravings, and it covers his nutritional bases. If you've been listening for a while, you know that I've made him take so many supplements, and I honestly was getting tired of refilling his pill supplement cabinet thing every single day. So AG1 has been a big help for us. It has prebiotics, probiotics, multivitamins, greens, so many things in there, minerals. And so it's just easy for him to not have to think about what supplements he has to take, just have it all in one powder, and he is good to go. So for all the parents out there who know how busy that we can be right now, and if you're looking for self-care that's quick and easy, Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. So go to athleticgreens.com/Chava. That's athleticgreens.com/Chava. Check it out. All right, we're going to keep diving into some of these questions. Again, some of them I can't answer. Somebody asked homeschool versus public school. Are there people that do high school groups? I don't know too much about that. My kids are preschool age. I know tons of people that do homeschool, and a lot of them are involved in co-ops. But outside of that, I really don't have a ton of information. Somebody said, let's hear your supplement routine for you and your kids. Oh my goodness. You guys know that I take 1,000 supplements. So for my kids, it's been a little bit different. I feel like basically since November, my kids have been sick every other week, or maybe not sick, but stuffed up, cough, lingering coughs, this and that. Tula's had more colds and whatever her first year of life than I feel like I've had in my entire life. Part of that's having a toddler. I feel like anytime we go anywhere in public, a few days later, she has a runny nose, stuffy, whatever. But I also am reminding myself that she's building her immune system. So I actually make homemade elderberry that I give them semi-regularly. My recipe is from Wellness Mama. I love that. They take a homemade gummy every single morning that's made with beef gelatin. I make pineapple or dragon fruit gummies. That recipe's from Hormone Healing RD. I can make sure, let me write this down. I'll put this in the show notes. I have 1,000 show notes for you guys today. And then I give them a fish oil supplement, and recently started doing vitamin D again just because it's been so dreary here. But I wasn't a big fan on necessarily doing it that first year of life. I started with Jovi, but after doing a lot of research, like there's certain reasons why babies' vitamin levels are the way that they are. And it's, vitamin D affects a lot of other things. It's not really a vitamin. It's actually a hormone, and it affects the absorption of your other minerals. So I didn't really do that Tula's first year of life. Since they've been sick on and off, and it's been gloomy here, it's harder to get sun, I have added in some vitamin D, K2, and Tula or Jovi takes a vitamin C chewable tablet by Optimal Health Systems if she's feeling like she's getting sick, or if we're fighting something, or sometimes she's just like, hey, can I have my vitamins? And I'm like, sure, you can have one. And then probiotics. So I'm just changing up the probiotic regimen. I just ordered some stuff that I'm excited to try. So let me try that out first and then get back to you guys. I talked last week a little bit about Tiny Health, and so I know that Jovi's missing some beneficial gut bacteria, so I'm trying a new probiotic and doing a few things. Plus, they're both just on antibiotics, so getting a probiotic in is really important. I haven't been doing a multivitamin, but I've been considering it just because Jovi's in that phase now where she has a lot more opinions about what she eats, whereas like Tula, I can still get her to eat beets and, whatever. She's not as big on green vegetables, Tula, whereas Jovi was more at that age, but maybe just because she sees Jovi not eating them as much. But like today, Jovi, I had some sliced cucumber on her plate, and she's like, no, I don't like cucumber. And I was like, just take a bite. And she did. And she's like, oh, that's yummy. And I was like, see, I'm like, it's yummy. So I was like, hey, why don't we split it in half? I'll take a bite, then you take a bite, like trying to be fun with her. And then she ate it and she loved it. So, but I should probably do a multivitamin, maybe not every day, but we'll see. But that's basically all I do for them. For myself, oh boy, it's a lot, especially right now because of preparing my body to try to conceive. So I take a moon milk tincture that helps nourish your body for fertility. I take a prenatal from Needed, which I absolutely love theirs. That's who I take. So from Needed, I take collagen, prenatal, omega, and use their digestive enzymes. And I love their company. So that's what I take through them. I also take elderberry if I feel like I'm getting sick. I just added in glutathione, which I'm going to do a deep dive in this episode, talking more about that with you guys, why and everything like that. Because I just learned tons of information on it that I'm really, really excited about. And I'm trying to think, do I take anything else? Fish oil. Yeah, I think I said that. Probiotic, fish oil, digestive enzymes. Oh, and I take an organ meat supplement. So I can include that in the show notes too, which organ meat supplement I take. I can't think of the name of it right now, but I take an organ meat supplement that's just basically organ meats dried up into capsules for you. So yeah, it kind of feels like a lot maybe. To me, it doesn't necessarily feel like it. And I ebb and flow. So there's days that I don't take everything. And then there's days that I do. So, and there's days I take off, like the weekends off or something. I don't think that you have to consistently take everything all the time. I also just added vitamin D back in because again, it's been gloomy here. This time of year gets tough. We're ready for some warmth and sun, and it's just not here. So I'm like, man, maybe I should up my vitamin D for a little bit. But I also am hesitant with that because I did my hair mineral testing, and I know that it can, again, affect mineral absorption and different things like that. Somebody asked, would you be able to share meals for the family that you make, top food prep tips? So again, like I said, just trying to figure out what you're going to make for the week. So I try to always take out the meat the night before. So my fridge is usually filled with whatever meat I'm going to have. And then the night before, I'll take it out. So Sunday, sometimes I'll prep like a big roast or something. But then, yeah, after that, like I do Mediterranean Mondays. So like this week, it'll be a tomato, basil, artichoke, baked chicken dip. Tuesday will be a taco bowls. Wednesday, either a steak bowl or a chicken bowl. Thursday, meatballs. Friday, fish. Saturday, steak. So, I try to just have, right here, let's see, what do I have? I have a few weeks of like recipes written out that make it easy for me to try to do that. Also, getting on Facebook groups and asking helps. Having leftovers for lunch is really important for me. So like the other night, I made like a big chicken bake and it was really good. But the next day I used the leftover chicken for chicken Caesar salads or a chicken wrap or something like that. So having something that's easy to grab is important too. So I also have on my Instagram that salmon salad. I love making that. My girls love it. You can use it as like a tuna melt, but like a salmon melt, dip crackers in it, dip veggies in it. That will last us a couple of days, 2 to 3 days. For lunch, you can hide sardines in it. But yeah, I just kind of rotate what I can get in. And I've been trying to not feel bad about eating out. So this last week I was like, babe, let's go out tonight. Like when we went to sushi the other night and he goes, really? I'm like, yeah. And that's just something that we never do. We were trying to think like with us as a family, besides when we were out of town traveling, obviously, we've maybe been out to eat in the last year, like 4 times. It's just like really not something that we do. I mean, we've ordered food. We've ordered like pizza a couple times or Chinese a couple times, which neither of those things are my favorite at all. So I don't love ordering food because whatever's cheapest and easiest is usually not what I like. So it just isn't convenient. I like to make food. But I'm like, hey, you know what? The kitchen is, I came home Friday from the girls' appointments. Vito had cleaned the kitchen, the living room. I'm like, oh, everything's clean. Let's not make a mess cooking dinner. Let's go out to eat tonight. And then we can just like hang out after, which was awesome. So, yeah, those are my meal prep tips. Somebody said they missed changing the podcast name. Can you please explain? that will always be included in the show notes. The reference back to the first episode of Morning Chava, what it means and everything like that. So that'll be linked in. Being away at bedtime, I'm having a hard time with the idea with leaving, but I need a date night with husband. So I think being away at bedtime is just something that you have to do. Like, you can try to have somebody else put, like, what we ended up doing was saying, who's ever watching our kids, which is usually one of our parents, like, do what you have to do to survive. I'm not going to be strict about sticking to bedtime those nights that we're going to have a date. So try to get the baby down if you can. Great. If not, bring him back downstairs with you and whatever. But what ended up happening, especially with Jovi as a baby, like, she was harder for me to get down, but other people would watch her and be like, oh my gosh, she went right down. And I'm like, what? Like, you never know what's going to happen. You have to try. So, now we have two, so it's a little bit harder. Tula usually shows signs that she's tired, and she'll fall asleep in somebody's arms down here, like in the living room. So she's easier to put to bed. Jovi a little bit harder. We just know that if we're going to go out, Jovi might be up when we get home. And that's just also like a fact that we're willing to face right now if we need a date night to get out. We're like, okay, so she knows she's probably going to get a movie night with grandma and grandpa or Nona and Nona. And so she's probably going to be up a little bit later. One time she fell asleep on the couch, so we just carried her up when we got home. So I wouldn't say like you have to stick to a strict routine. You can tell them to try, like, hey, this is what we do. We do bath, stories, bed, and try it. And if it doesn't work as planned, like, that's great. Like, maybe don't force it. Then come back downstairs and play with some toys or whatever. But give yourself permission to go out and to trust who's ever taking care of them, that they're gonna take care of the baby. So you need to make sure that you give yourself that. When do I need to decide I'd like a doula? At any point, honestly. I've had people message me as soon as they've gotten pregnant. I've had people hire me the week that they've had their baby. So if at any point you decide that you want one, that is what you should do. What are some questions or things to look for when using a midwife for the first time? I think it's interesting that you ask that, because I feel like most people don't even ask their OBs questions, but we feel like maybe asking midwives. I think just what your options are. So if you're in the hospital and you're like, hey, I want to try a midwife practice, but I do want some pain management. So, hey, what does that look like here? So see what they have, see what they offer. Obviously, like, if you're using a midwife in a birthing center, what they offer is going to be different than at a hospital. Birthing centers don't provide epidurals, but they might provide IV meds or nitrous oxide or some other things. So going over your birthing plan, forming your birth plan, asking questions. I don't think necessarily just for a midwife, for anybody that you're going to have delivering your baby. So what podcasts besides your own do you listen to? All right, guys, get ready to write these down because they're awesome. Are You Menstrual? That's a great podcast. Birthing Instincts, the Evidence-Based Birth Podcast. I recommend that to every single person who's trying to conceive or pregnant. Research your topic. If your doctor says, oh, you have a big baby. Oh, it looks like this. Oh, it looks like that. Maybe we should do induction. You can scroll, you can just type in that word and go EBB, evidence-based birth, and a podcast episode is going to pop up with it. And this lady breaks down all the research surrounding it, and you get so much good information on there for yourself to support your decisions. Fertility Friday, which we've had her on our podcast before. The Informed Pregnancy podcast is awesome. Let's see, Wellness Mama. The Birth Hour, if you're preparing to give birth, is great. And then the Freely Rooted podcast. That one's awesome as well. And then if you're looking for a good mental health podcast, The Place We Find Ourselves. Start back at the beginning, grab a journal, and you will have like therapy sessions every single time that you listen to this. It is so amazing. All right, we are going to hear from another one of our sponsors before we dive into the caffeine, sleep, and glutathione and the effects on fertility. All right, we are going to talk about our next sponsor, which is Dime Beauty. You all have heard me talk about them by now on here, on my Instagram, because I've absolutely been loving them. They are a skincare brand that I'm newly obsessed with, and I love them because of the results that I've seen, how the products feel, and more importantly for me, the ingredients. The fact that all their products are between a 1 and a 3 on the EWG scale. I love the hyaluronic acid, which is EWG verified. And so I've just absolutely been loving using their products. If you're going to order a bundle, I would just go for the works because it has your jelly cleanser, the toner, 2 different serums, your night cream, and your day cream. Things that I use constantly is going to be the restorative night cream, the dewy day cream, the hyaluronic acid serum, and the hyper glow. All of those are amazing. They help with helping reduce fine lines and wrinkles and aging and helping your skin feel fuller and plumper. What I love about the dewy day cream is that it's so light too that I just put my makeup on top. Sometimes I actually even mix a little bit of a tinted oil with it and put it on, and that's like all I need for the day. And it's like super light. It doesn't feel thick and heavy. You can put your makeup on top. It helps it stay in place. And I've really been loving them. So make sure that you guys try out these products. Let me know what you think, and make sure to use the code MAMAS20 for 20% off your entire order. And remember that Dime also provides free shipping on all orders over $75. So if you haven't tried Dime Beauty yet, make sure that you do so. All right, I said last week that we were going to talk about a famous woman in history since it's Women's History Month. So before we move on to the fertility stuff, I am going to dive into that. And I'm going to highlight today Ina May Gaskin. So she is an American midwife who has been described as the mother of authentic midwifery. She's helped found the self-sustaining community, The Farm, with her husband, Stephen Gaskin, in 1971, which I would love to visit. It's in Tennessee. I would love to go to The Farm, where she launched her career in midwifery. So she kind of got turned on to all of this stuff through her own birthing experience. She was traveling with her husband. He was a speaker. So she had one kid. Sorry, I'm going to back up. So she had one kid with a physician who used forceps. It was a very unpleasant experience. And so she searched for different type of childbirth. And before she established The Farm, her husband was speaking and she was traveling with him. And so she ended up giving birth in Nebraska when they were traveling through. And the baby was born 8 weeks premature and passed away the next day. And she wasn't allowed to keep the baby, and law enforcement made her bury the child in Nebraska. And her own personal experiences fueled her interest into midwifery and safe childbirth. So through her first experience and her second experience, she really wanted to make change. And she and her husband founded the commune called The Farm in Somerton, Tennessee. And there, she and the midwives of The Farm, they came up with one of the first out-of-hospital birthing centers in the United States. Family members and friends are commonly in attendance and are encouraged to take an active role in the birth. She also found local family physician Dr. John Williams to serve as a mentor for her and the other women looking to be midwives in the community. So if you are a doula, a midwife, anyone in the birthing world, you know who Ina May Gaskin is. She has tons of books out there. So if you're somebody who wants to have an unmedicated birth, a home birth, or any sort of ulterior hospital birth, I would highly recommend taking or reading one of her books. Or even if, like I said, you're birthing in a hospital, but you'd like to do unmedicated, you'd like to learn different options that maybe your provider's not giving you, read one of her books. Ina May Gaskin is absolutely amazing. And she is, like I said, just kind of a huge icon in the birthing world. So I just wanted to mention her in honor of Women's History Month. Obviously, I was going to do something birth-based because that's what we do here. All right, so I am going to talk about caffeine and fertility. That's where I'm going to start. There's caffeine and fertility, sleep and fertility, and glutathione and fertility. The hard thing with caffeine is moms run on coffee, right? And so they say the world does, but who knows? Some of this information can be like tough to hear because we don't want to give up those certain things, or you can look up so many different studies and one's going to be like under 200 milligrams is okay. But then you look at another study and that's not really what it shows. So I'm just here trying to present information because it could be linked to something that could be inhibiting your fertility journey. I actually posted about this on Instagram recently, and I had several women reach out to me and say, I was having a hard time conceiving. I cut out caffeine and I conceived my next cycle because women who consumed 300 milligrams were 27% less likely to conceive during a menstrual cycle. That is what one of the research studies show. So caffeine and fertility. I drink coffee daily with Tula. Before Jovi, I was never a huge coffee person. It's like here and there, every once in a while I'd have decaf. I don't like feeling very caffeinated. Still, I'm very sensitive to it. I can never order caffeine out. So even if we're at a breakfast joint and I order a cup of coffee, I feel like my heart is going to pound out of my chest. When I brew it at home, I'm okay with it. So obviously whatever I'm making is probably not as strong as that, but I was drinking recently like 2.5, 3 cups of coffee a day. So I started weaning myself off. Today I had full decaf. The thing that you want to be careful with decaf, a lot of it's made with chemicals or put other things in it. So you want to look for a Swiss water one. I use a chemical-free organic one. Even with the coffee that you're drinking, I'd be interested in this because I mean, they haven't looked into maybe the type of coffee that women are drinking when they're trying to conceive, because coffee is also one of the most heavily sprayed crops. Like Folgers is full of pesticides, guys, and that's like something that's not often preached out there. So finding an organic, clean coffee could also potentially make a difference. I don't know that at all, but just saying like coffee is a very heavily sprayed crop, so you want to be mindful of that as well. So in one study, 82% of women in the US consume caffeine daily, and the Mayo Clinic says that female fertility doesn't seem to be affected by caffeine intake below 200 milligrams a day. However, like I said, some other studies suggest differently. Caffeine easily crosses the placenta barrier as well in pregnancy and is much harder for babies to metabolize. Also, we all metabolize it very differently. Caffeine increases our heart rate and the baby's heart rate as well. I know for myself, I am a slow metabolizer of coffee. I could never have a cup of coffee in the afternoon because I wouldn't be able to sleep that night. Whereas Vito can have a shot of espresso right after dinner and then go pass out immediately. So he's a very fast metabolizer of caffeine. Studies also show how it impacts sleep, as I just mentioned, and sleep is very important for fertility. Caffeine can affect your hormone levels, your thyroid, how long or short your luteal phase is. It can affect your cycle. So there's a lot of information here. So it's interesting, like I said, to see that they're still recommending 200 milligrams or less. But a lot of people aren't really paying attention. Like if you get a venti Starbucks coffee, that's 400 milligrams of caffeine. So if you're like, I am just having one cup, but it's a very large cup and it's from a different place, you're not sure how much caffeine it is in there. So there was data, 6% of women who are consuming coffee, who are not pregnant, 6% of the women who are still not pregnant in the low consumption group by the cycle 13th, were compared to 28% of women in the high consumption group of caffeine still were not pregnant by cycle 13. So you can see in this one study that they did, 6% of women who consumed low consumption of caffeine weren't pregnant by the 13th cycle compared to 28% in the high consumption group still were not pregnant. So I'm going to include these studies on here in the show notes just so you can look through things for yourself. I always find it very beneficial for you to look at things for yourself. But I just found it super interesting. I read that study this like last week and I'm like, oh, I'm cutting out coffee now because for me, with my previous losses, it's just I don't want another like, what am I doing wrong? Like I know there's so many things that can happen and you could be doing everything perfectly right. But just for my mental health and for what I'm doing, it's like, okay, I don't want to be like, oh my gosh, I drank too much coffee that one day and that's why we had another loss. Like it's for me, for my mental health. And so that's also why I'm sharing this information with you as I'm going along, letting you guys know what we're doing and things that like changes that we've been making as well, because I do think that it is important to talk about it, just so that you have the information, you can make the best decision for yourself. Maybe you are like, you know what, I want the coffee. Great. There are the recommendations of under 200 milligrams. Maybe make sure it's coming from a cleaner source. Even switching to tea, like there's benefits with green tea. It's a little bit less caffeine and has more benefits than coffee does, as far as antioxidants and things like that. So there's always alternatives as well. So I switched to decaf, soon to be fully weaning. For me, it's like the ritual. I love the ritual in the morning. I put my collagen in it. I eat breakfast first, and then I sip on a warm cup of coffee. Well, let's be honest, half the time it's room temperature. It starts out warm. My first couple sips are warm, and then it's room temperature, but y'all know what I mean. All right, before we dive into sleep and fertility, I am going to share with you another one of our sponsors, and that is Honey Love. You guys know that I've been loving Honey Love. I have, oh my gosh, Vito and I were just talking about it. We have so many weddings coming up this year. It is crazy, like 7 weddings. So that's where Honey Love comes into handy for me. It is the best shapewear out there. So whether you're a bride, a guest, going out for whatever you want, Honey Love is your go-to for all things shapewear. They have revolutionized compression technology, so you no longer have to feel like you're suffocating while wearing effective shapewear, and you'll immediately feel and see the difference. We also have an exclusive offer for you, 20% off your entire order with code MAMAS at honeylove.com. So make sure you go to honeylove.com and use code MAMAS. And I want to share with you a little bit about their best-selling Superpower Short, because it is the go-to. One thing that I love is that it still shows off your natural curves, and I don't feel like I'm getting squeezed out of it. Like, have you ever put on shapewear and you sit down and it like rolls down, and then your skin's just like, you have like that roll hanging out the top of it? I feel like if you've worn shapewear, we've all been there. This doesn't do that. It fits so nicely and it's sexy. Like, their shapewear is hot. Like, I feel hot putting on their shapewear. The stuff that I had before, not so much, it's not as flattering or sexy. But this shapewear really, really is. I love wearing it. It's super sexy. And it fits amazing, feels amazing. I can breathe, and I still feel like I have curves, and it doesn't roll down uncomfortably. So make sure that you treat yourself to the best shapewear on the market and save 20% off at honeylove.com with the code MAMAS. Use MAMAS at honeylove.com. I'm going to answer just a few more listener questions before we dive in. And one of them is, what signs of overall hormone health do you look for before starting to try for baby number 3? So for me, the hormone health, I actually went to my doctor. I had all my labs run. She said everything looked good. I checked out my thyroid, my hormone levels, everything like that. Trying to conceive nutritionist, on her Instagram, she has a list of all of those levels on there. But for me, it's also like making sure that I'm getting 20 to 30 grams of protein in right away in the morning, that I am trying to optimize my health, how that my cycles are back, that they're regular. Our cycles tell us so much about ourselves. So my cycles came back in August. So when Tula was 6 months old, they tell us a lot about our health. What was very interesting, my cycles have always been 28 days. Since having Tula, they're 31 days. My cycles are 31 days. Tracking my ovulation, making sure that I am ovulating, and then generally just seeing how I feel. How am I feeling? Like, yes, I'm tired. It's also the season of life that I don't feel you necessarily get out of until you're out of it. But optimizing sleep, like we just talked about, right? Like, so trying to optimize sleep, which I highly need to work on, as I've said, making sure that I'm getting some fresh air, which I also haven't been great at because it's been really cold and windy here. But optimizing hormone health can be hard. I did a hair mineral test because that affects hormones. I did that through Hormone Healing RD, her mineral testing course. Just knowing that it was interesting because I found out that I was depleted in some because I was like living in fight or flight and stressed. So, which I'm not a stressed person, I would say, but my body is taking a toll right now. I mean, I'm breastfeeding, I'm taking care of 2 kids, 2 and under. I'm, trying to do my podcast, my side hustle from home, and just working on different things. So it definitely is impacted. But I would say just like work with somebody. Look for an osteopath or a functional medicine doctor in your area and see if you can help. So I try to limit toxins and chemicals, but can't always. How do you find balance and give yourself grace? This is something that I've really struggled with, and I've mentioned on here before too. You do the best that you can. I've honestly kind of adopted an F it attitude lately because I can't handle anymore. Like every single time I log on to Instagram, I find out that something else is killing us and something else is giving us cancer. And I'm at a point where like I can't. I think that making the big adjustments is just like really where it's at. So like on a past episode, like getting rid of nonstick cookware, eliminating plastics in your home as far as like storage containers and things like that. Like just even the ages that our kids are at, I know like plastic isn't going to be completely eliminated, but we don't eat food in plastic. We don't store food in plastic, things like that can leak chemicals into that, or like our water bottles are all stainless steel. Making those types of adjustments in your kitchen, your food, things like that. It isn't possible to eat everything all organic. One thing that I found is frozen organic foods are really beneficial. Plus they're frozen at peak ripeness, which is great. Most food that we buy in the grocery store is picked before it's even ripe. And then it ripens along its journey to the store and in the store. So it doesn't even have the full impact of the nutrients that we need. But it can be hard, like, right? Like trying to find that balance. But for me, it's like, you know what? Like there's so much out of our control and you're doing great. Like you can't let it take over your life, because I was for a little bit and it was driving me crazy and Vito crazy. And so it's like, we do the best that we can and we make small adjustments here and there. And I'm going to share about glutathione in a minute, which actually helps with that, with eliminating toxins in our bodies. So just doing the best that you can and giving yourself a lot of grace, I think is so, so important. And then how do you manage the information overload and not feel overwhelmed by all the studies? Just the same thing I did. There is so much of an information overload. That's why I've had to, like I said, unfollow some accounts that I've gotten a lot of beneficial information from. You can't let yourself feel overwhelmed, because I mean, one thing that I tell myself is ultimately God's in control. We're doing the best that we can. And we're not meant to take it all on, right? Like, but also our world wasn't meant to be this way. Like, we're not meant to have toxins in our soil and have depleted soil and toxins in our water. Like, that's not how it was meant to be. But also we have very efficient health systems. Our bodies are meant to detox. Our bodies are meant to support us. So as long as we're doing the best we can to support our bodies with healthy living, fresh air, sleep, these different things, then we're doing the best that we can, right? Like there's too much. There's too much. And I was driving myself crazy. So, again, take the information that you can. If it's a change that you can make, do it. If not, move on and don't let it drive you crazy, because that stress is going to impact your mental health. So that stress of, oh my gosh, we're not doing enough. We need to do this. I need to do more. Oh no, like that is not good. Because like in my perfect world, I would love a whole house air purifier. We can't afford that. That's absolutely crazy. Those are so expensive. We'd like to redo our floors. I know that we have carpet that holds a lot of dust, which holds toxins. And it's like, okay, whatever. Like I'm going to vacuum a few times a week and we're good. Like I can't, like it's too much. And then if you want to put in non-toxic flooring, it's not affordable. So it's our bodies are meant to detox. That stress is going to drive you crazy. Do with you the information what you can, but then let the rest roll off. So I am with you in that. I've been down that path. You're doing amazing. Okay, let's talk glutathione. I just did a deep dive on this and I'm really excited about it. Glutathione is the body's master antioxidant, and it helps to regenerate stores of other antioxidants like vitamin C and E. And it is so important for egg quality, sperm quality, fertility, for pregnancy. And I'm just now learning about this. It also protects both mother and fetus from the damaging effects of free radicals and oxidative stress. So oxidants and glutathione status play an important role in the development and growth of a fetus, maintenance for a healthy pregnancy, and even before pregnancy, infertility, and conception. I'm going to, again, include so many studies in the show notes for you guys to check out. But what's super interesting is I found a link with glutathione and how oxidative stress shows up in fertility. So it shows up in male fertility as far as affecting some of the sperm and motility and things like that. It also shows up in female fertility, oxidative stress, how it impacts that. There's a role of oxidative stress in some conditions that can contribute to infertility, such as PCOS, endometriosis, and unexplained infertility. So glutathione is a master antioxidant, and it plays a prominent role in detoxification and antioxidation of exogenous and endogenous compounds, as well as maintaining an intracellular redox status. So a lot of big words in there, right? But basically, it gives you the tools that you need to use the things in your body that you need to help reduce stress, right? It's not only like in your cells, it's in other parts of your body. And there's basic functions of glutathione in the reproductive system that's related to its interactions with your other organs, which is really, really cool. So glutathione deficiency can lead to instability of the sperm's midpiece, resulting in defective motility. And then glutathione shields eggs from damage caused by oxidative stress during follicular genesis, and egg quality can be dependent on it. So research has shown that higher levels of glutathione produce healthier and stronger embryos. Another study showed that in younger years, women's ovaries have higher intracellular glutathione levels. So now women are having babies later and later, right? And so that glutathione can dip over time. So this might be a supplement that you want to consider in your trying to conceive journey, in your pregnancy journey. I actually just started taking it today. So it's also been reported that glutathione deficiency is related to premature ovarian aging and even ovarian cancer. So another study found that women undergoing IVF, higher levels of glutathione in a woman's follicle translated into increased fertilization rates. In other studies, glutathione is shown to be an anti-aging oxidant, which could have possible impact on egg health, one of the cells most affected by the aging process. The protective action of follicular stimulating hormone in embryonic development is largely due to glutathione synthesis. So it reduces that oxidative stress by fighting the formation of damaging free radicals in our reproductive system. How cool is that? That's crazy. So it can play an important role in the growth of fetus development, maintaining healthy pregnancy, and even before for fertility and conception. And I just wanted to share, because we were just talking about toxins and stuff too, there's so many environmental factors out of our control, right? So things that produce oxidative stress and lower our glutathione levels are things like radiation, pesticides, air pollution, heavy metals, vinyl chloride, excess oxygen, antipsychotic drugs, anti-epileptic drugs, cigarette smoke, alcohol, and then in maternal health factors that increase free radicals in our body are like diabetes, preeclampsia, infection, inflammation, and things like that. So glutathione and other antioxidants can help pregnant women with inflammation or maternal conditions. Supplementation during these phases can make a difference. So for me, I just feel like I'm learning so much information that I'm like, how come nobody's told me this before? How am I just finding out about this? And then I know so many people who are going through fertility treatments right now, and they're telling me that their doctor's not telling them to do anything. Their doctor didn't even tell them to start on a prenatal. Their doctor didn't even tell them to like do any of these things that could potentially help to to do that. And I'm like, my mind is blown. Like, how come people aren't sharing this information? Like there just needs, it just shows like how behind our system is when it comes to maternal health. And man, guys, I don't know if you saw that study. It is like out of control. Like the study for 2021 came out and so many people sent this to me. Like the death rate in our country has increased so much. And this goes back to a couple weeks ago when I addressed the whole hospital birth thing and I went on my tangent, because this is why our medical system is broken. Our maternal health system is broken. In 2021, our maternal death rate increased by 12% from 2019. So in 2 years, it went up 12%. How outrageous is that? And how infuriating is that? It makes me so mad. And so many people were sending me this article and I'm like, I know. I mean, it has continued to increase over the last 20 years and then it made a 12% jump in 2 years. That should piss you off. That should make you angry. And that's why we have to demand change. So anyways, I know that was like a tangent from the health things that I'm going on, but I'm just like learning so much. I'm like, if you want to give people the best chance at these different things, why are we not trying to optimize health, reduce stress, do all these other factors to help give you the best chance? And I feel that same way. It's like I have previous losses and, it's just like, hey, take a prenatal. And it's like, no, there could be other things. Like, who knows? One thing that I'm also doing for my, when Vito and I start trying again is using a progesterone cream because of my previous losses. So incorporating that in as well. But there's so much out there that needs to change, that we need to strive for. And that you have to educate yourself. Please do not rely on other people. Don't just rely on your doctor to tell you everything that you need. Like, research and be your advocate, be your kids' advocate. And also before starting a new supplement, make sure that you talk to your provider. This is not medical advice. I do not give medical advice. I'm just sharing research that I've gathered and heard and that I found very, very interesting. And so make sure that you talk to your healthcare provider about it. But I'm going to include all of the links in the show notes for you guys. So you can reference back to coffee, to sleep, to glutathione, the recipes for the gummies, for the elderberry, for that organ meat supplement. And I will include everything in the show notes for you. This has been a really fun episode. I never do ones really where I'm just talking by myself. If I am, I bring Vito on. But like I said, I have some really great episodes coming up. Next week, we're going to hear from one of our listeners who actually wrote a kid's book and it's coming out soon. And so I'm really excited to share that with you and to support her in that as well. If you guys have any questions, reach out to me and make sure that you are sharing this podcast, getting it out there. And I just really, really appreciate and love your guys' support. And let me know what you thought of the information shared today. All right. Love you guys. Bye.